It is Medical Monday, and if you are just joining us right here at this half hour, thank you for being with us. This is Dr. David Gnewikow with us from Advanced Hearing Solutions in Mount Juliet. We are talking about hearing loss, and we are taking your phone calls. We've had some great questions already. 615-737-PLUS is the number to call in, right there along the bottom of the screen. Love to get your call lined up and take it here in this next half hour. As soon as we get more, we will take more. In the meantime, I will ask the questions, and I would like to know what a patient should expect when they go from the hearing test to starting to talk about a hearing aid.
Sure.
When it comes to fit, when it comes to price, when it comes to making that decision of what is right for them.
Absolutely.
What should a patient do?
So I'll go back to a few minutes ago. We talked about what an initial visit kind of consists of in our practice, and I'm going to go back to using the word teaching or education. So I think a patient should expect, if they go in to see an audiologist, that person is going to explain to them expectations. Okay, to me, expectations are important in many different aspects of our lives. I won't go into all of those, okay? But expectations are huge when it comes to a medical device, a hearing aid, a medical treatment. And I think that's probably number one on my list. So one of the first things that I talk to, once I've explained, you know, this is what you're hearing and this is what you're missing and you know, all of those things, is what is reasonable for us to expect if we decide to go down the road of trying some hearing aids. And things like, okay, if right now, using some numbers, if right now we feel like you have a 50% hearing loss, what can we get you to? What percentage of normal should I be able to hear? What should I expect with television? What should I expect when I'm on my cell phone? You know, what should I expect? And I say that both positively and negatively, because sometimes I have to have a pretty honest conversation to say, okay, there's some situations we're still going to have some struggles with. And just a word of warning, if everything seems too good to be true, sometimes it is. And so, you know, I've had patients come in and they say, well, the person I saw told me if I just push this button, all the background noise will go away. Okay, that's not true. That's not going to happen. So your expectations should be pretty clear, and I would want the professional working with me to be able to explain that in terms that I can understand, okay? In terms of cost, I think that should be very clear, okay? No tricks, no gimmicks.
Yeah.
When we sit down with people and talk about cost, we explain different options. So hearing aid technology is much like any technology in the world today. You can go to the store to buy a smartphone, and you can get a smartphone for 150 bucks, or you can pay upwards of $1,000 bucks for a smartphone. Why do they cost different? Well, it's features. This one is faster and has more memory and it has a better camera and it has better Bluetooth, and hearing aids are much the same way. You absolutely don't have to buy the most expensive hearing aid to do well. There are less expensive options. The more expensive options may have more bells and whistles, just like our cell phone. Better Bluetooth, rechargeable, waterproof, you know, more automatic programs. I've got them to where they can switch sides depending on where sounds are coming from, or you can zoom a certain, I mean, I could go on and on and on with the technology. Not to make that complicated, but that's the kind of thing that I think a patient should expect to understand is, okay, what is the best technology option for me, and how does price sort of figure into that? Last thing, and I keep saying everyone is the most important, so all of these are the most important, is expect to be able to try it. Okay, so it is a federal mandate that hearing aids are fit with a trial period, meaning if you come into my office and decide you're going to try some hearing aids, you have the right to return those if you're not happy with them, or if you just feel like you're not getting enough benefit, or if you just change your mind.
Sure.
I mean, you don't have to write me a paper to say why I'm going to return these hearing aids. And so what we do with patients is everybody that comes into our office gets a free 30-day trial period. And the reason we do that is life is so much different outside my little quiet office than it is sitting talking to me one-on-one in a quiet office with no screaming kids and no background noise. And so I want people to wear them at work. I want people to wear them riding in the car. I want people to wear them outdoors working in the yard, in a restaurant, at church. In all those situations, that are important to them, that are the reason that they came in to see us to start with. Because me, you know, coming on TV and saying all these things that I know, or sitting across the room from somebody explaining this is one thing, experiencing it is a completely different thing. And I had a patient this afternoon that we kind of went through this, and he's like, well, you know, I just don't know if it's time for me yet. And I said, you're right. I said, I don't know if it's time for you yet. If you want to take and test this, we'll do it. You take and test it. If it's not time for you, you just give it back. He's like, really? I can do that? A lot of people don't know that.
Sure.
So that is a very important part of the expectation process, is expect to be able to try it, and expect to be able to, if you're not satisfied, either return it or have other options. I'll mention one more thing along that. I said we do a trial period at no cost. The only thing we ask for is a security deposit, so we know I'll see my little hearing aids again, and people won't run away with them. Okay, but the security deposit for us is 100% refundable. That is not a law. I mean, that we choose to do that because I want people to be able to really know this is going to benefit and not have risks. So I won't say if you went somewhere and they had a non-refundable of $300 or $500 or whatever. I'm certainly not saying that that's against the law or inappropriate. We choose to not do that because, again, I want people to have that opportunity and feel like, okay, if this doesn't benefit me, I don't have anything to lose in trying them. That's another really important factor if you're trying to get your spouse or mom or dad to come in, because there's this fear of cost. And I completely understand that. I'm afraid of the cost of a lot of things, so I completely understand that. So we talk about cost, but we say, look, there is no cost in you understanding what the benefit is. And then I think people can better weigh cost and benefit. Okay, this is X amount of dollars, but my life is better in these different areas, or man, I haven't said huh this week, or my wife is less frustrated with me, or my husband, you know, hasn't had to repeat. That's where you can really weigh cost. It's hard to weigh cost whether it's $100 or $10,000 until you know what the benefit is.
And what is the average cost of a hearing aid these days?
Okay, so I would say average is probably around $4,000.
And that's for a pair?
For a pair, for two. Not everybody has to have a pair. So people say, could I get just one? The answer is yes. I wear just one because I have normal hearing in the other ear. We have people like our first caller was Jeff, I think. He said he was deaf in one ear. You know, we're probably not going to try to fit a hearing aid in an ear that can't see benefit, but most people it's two, and that is sort of the middle range in cost. Certainly, we have hearing aids that are significantly less expensive that will still help tremendously. We have hearing aids that are more expensive, with more automatic features and more bells and whistles and more, you know, all of those things. Personally, I rarely recommend the most expensive. People call all the time and say, what's your price range? And my office folks will tell them, and they say, well, he's going to try to sell us the most expensive one. And I absolutely don't. In fact, I don't like selling people the most expensive, because I got more to live up to. You know, if you're going to pay $6,000 or $7,000 for some hearing aids, they better be magnificent if it's going to really help. And so I usually try to find that balance in our recommendation between what makes the most sense for your life, but what is still the most cost effective. And I'll say this, I've talked about features. Right now today, with the very newest technology that we have, I can fit hearing aids that are rechargeable, that you never have to change a battery. You can wear them for 24 hours on a charge. You charge it for 2 hours. They're waterproof. They're Bluetooth to any phone you have, even your old flip phone. I can do Bluetooth. I can Bluetooth to your television. You can connect to your iPad, and they're in the entry-level cost of $3,000 range, you know, for a pair, for two. It used to be you had to buy the very top of the line to get that technology, and the technology has kind of trickled down. And so we fit a lot of people in that, what I call entry-level category, that's significantly less expensive, and they still have Bluetooth, and they still have an app on their phone, and they still have waterproof, and they still have rechargeable. So it certainly doesn't mean that everybody that comes in is going to have to spend, you know, the very top amount.
And how long should these last?
Excellent question. So the industry average, meaning across the U.S. for people that purchase hearing aids, the average time is 5 or 6 years. That's a pretty normal I'll call it life expectancy. Now, that doesn't mean that in 5 years my hearing aid is junk and I need to throw it in the trash. It's like our phones, okay? Everybody's got a phone. My son is going to turn 16 tomorrow and he's getting a new phone.
That's
he knows
exciting.
this. He's not watching anyway, but he knows this, okay?
Shocked.
But he has a 5-year-old phone that doesn't work as well as it used to. And it's not quite as fast and it's not quite as good. And the technology is so much better today. At the same time, I have patients with hearing aids that they've been wearing for 10 years. And they come into the office and I say, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Any major problems? No major problems. What are you missing? Really not missing that much. Well, if you're not missing anything, then I don't think you need to invest another several $1,000s in new hearing aids. To me, it's more about, are the changes in technology going to make a significant difference for that person? So in our office, I would say the average is probably 6 or 7 years, a little bit higher than maybe the national average. But I do that because we don't push people to get new ones if we feel like what they already have is working well for them.
You mentioned that consultation is free at the very beginning, and then if someone decides to move forward, you still, they buy the hearing aids. That kind of comes with care along the way.
Correct, correct. So we use, and most places, whether it's an audiologist or a hearing aid office or whatever, use what is called a bundled model, which means when somebody comes into our office, and I completely appreciate that a $4,000 price tag is a significant expense, but we include service. And I can't say what every office does, but I'll say in our practice, we include everything we do with the hearing aids as long as that person wants to come see us. Not for a year or 2 or 3. I routinely see people, or folks in my office will routinely see people that we fit with hearing aids 9 years ago. They come in, we clean them, we might turn them up a little bit, we might replace some parts. There's no charge for that because that's kind of part of our package. We could significantly reduce the cost of hearing aids if we said, well, we're going to take $500 off that cost, but then you end up paying that down the road. And so as people are shopping and comparing, well, I can get this device for this and this device for this, it's important to understand what that includes. There are places online that you can buy hearing aids, but then you have to go somewhere and pay that person to fit them. And so we've had people come into our office and say, I bought these hearing aids, and we said, well, okay, we'll be glad to fit them for you, but our fitting fee is X amount, let's say $300. Well, $300, well, I got the, but that's what you're paying for when you purchase that device. And so understanding that is important, sort of reading the fine print to say, is everything included, or how many years? A lot of practices will say we include service for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. Again, not saying that's a bad idea. It's just that people need to understand, the consumer needs to understand what that package actually entails.
It's always good to ask questions and get everything lined up from the beginning, right?
Absolutely. And if you as a patient or you as a family member feel like your questions are not being answered, then maybe that's a red flag that you need to talk to somebody else. And again, I'm not saying everybody needs to come see us. We can certainly accommodate you, but I'm not saying everybody with hearing loss has to come to our office. But I think you need to be very comfortable with all of these things that we've talked about, the terms and the cost and the coverage and how long are you going to take care of us. And if those questions are not answered well, I think it's probably worth getting a second opinion.
Okay, we're going to take another commercial break. We're going to still have a little more time to field some questions. If you have one, don't hesitate. Go ahead and give us a call, 615-737-PLUS.